What's up, dude?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Soccer Wise. David Goss with you here for what is going to be a fun show. We've got a lot to talk about across MLS, across CONCACAF champion stuff. We've got a gigantic bag on the line for LAFC and Club America. And I am lucky enough because it is summertime, which means you have exchange programs, you have internships that luckily the family over in Sicily has decided to send over one of their own to work with our family here in New Jersey to learn a little bit more about the way we run things in our organization. And he's with me right now as my co-host. What's the name again?
What is going on here? That was a lazy.
You look exactly like the guy that Carmela falls in love with, who like comes over to be with the Sopranos right now. You've got like the mustache, the hair, but I couldn't remember the character's name.
Oh my god! I'm gonna let you drown on that one because
nice. Now I'm like typing as fast as I can. How's it going?
It's going good. I appreciate that. I think that's a very flattering because he's a handsome fella.
Yeah, of course he is. His name is Furio Guinta.
Furio. To be fair, I wouldn't have gotten the last name.
Which is what you look like. But you look like a Furio right now.
I do look like Furio.
Yeah.
I don't have quite as long of a pony.
No, you don't.
Just a man bun.
And, but you're a better soccer player. So there's that you've got going for you.
Do we know that for sure?
I don't know, but you could say it because we don't know for sure now.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I don't know if you're throwing a little accent on top of that.
Yeah, we don't, who knows? Fanguli, who knows? We have a big show, as I said, for real. St. Louis has let go of we've got a lot of Furios coming through in the chat now. So I appreciate everyone stepping in for us. Shout out to Vazano, New Jersey legend as well.
Of course Vazano's in. I love that.
All caps, too.
He's got me.
We've got a huge show. St. Louis let go their manager for the second time in like a year. So they will have their fourth person in charge of a game as the head coach. Second interim in just 3 years of existing. We will talk all about that as we have over the last few weeks. Vancouver is headed to Mexico City for their final, which is happening on Sunday. So that's going to be massive. We will talk about that. And as I said, LAFC get this like special one-off game with a chance to go to the Club World Cup. We have seen the millions of dollars that are potentially on the edge for them there. And then we will dig into what we saw last night. It was, as MLS Midweek tends to be, chaos. It was wild. There were red cards, high-scoring games, a ton of comebacks, a bunch of stoppage time goals. The 7:30 games, like they all ended in a flash with a bunch of stoppage time goals. We have some off-field stuff to talk about as well. Lucho Acosta returning to Cincinnati for the first time since leaving and maybe not reading the tea leaves so well on what that experience would be like, but maybe more successful on the field than he would have expected. RSL are missing a designated player because of off-field stuff. So we've got a lot to discuss in all of that. Reminder that on this Saturday, you can join us live to talk about all of it. So I will be hosting our first call-in show on Saturday. We're starting around 7:15. We've got a bunch of great guests already lined up to join us to bring some expertise, broadcasters from around MLS, former players, journalists, podcasters, all that type of stuff. But the key to the show and what I want it to be is a place for everyone to come and chat and complain or celebrate or ask questions, whatever it is. So we're going to put out the link to everyone on Saturday, and you can sign up there. There's a limit of 100 people that can sign up, so that's why we're sort of waiting a little bit. But you can sign up there. It's free. You get a quote-unquote ticket, and then that ticket gives you a link that will come once the show goes live, and you can jump in, and you could do audio only, or you could do video and chat with me and whoever else is on. So I think I'm going to sort of use everyone as random co-hosts, and they can answer your questions or you can ask them there as well. Chase, the beer will not be provided. So you have to bring it yourself, but it is encouraged if you want to hang out and watch us. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm really excited about it. It's something I've always wanted to do. It's something I've talked about since I came out of college of like, why doesn't this exist? It should exist. And then I guess if you want something, you do it yourself. I don't know. Some language around that. So it's going to start at 7:15 Eastern time. There's not a hard end date or end time. Date is probably a good thing to have. So it doesn't go.
For life.
Yeah, two to 3 days. the idea was to start to wrap up around 10:30, but we'll see how the games go. And we see how people are enjoying it and people coming on, and maybe we can get a couple more hours out of it if that is what people want. Tom, you will be away on Saturday, and then you're going to Argentina. So everyone, follow Tom on socials if you don't, because I know you are hosting some stuff. You've put out some videos when you are at these events in the past. So I'm looking forward to that. As I said on the last show, I'll be at TST. So if you're going to be in the area, hit me up. If not, you will see us updating a little bit as well from our socials as we are doing stuff. So a way to follow everything if the shows are a little bit less regular next week, and then we'll be back for our regular programming. We'll get our fiber in, and we will be ready to go after that one. Let's dig into the news, though, for the day. Tom, let's start with St. Louis. We've been asked this a million times. You had to go and report on it last week, right? When the rumors started coming out, some from Sweden, some from the United States, that Olof Melberg's time would be done. And I think for me, the reason I wasn't sure the whole time was the reality, which is he only managed now 15 games in Major League Soccer. He came over from overseas, moved here, took over a project that couldn't have been considered a short-term project of like, the goal is to win MLS Cup now and we have to win Open Cup this year. That couldn't have been what the project was set up as. But in the end, he goes 2-5-8, only scoring 11 goals across the 15 MLS games he coached. And of course, the 3-2 loss to Minnesota in US Open Cup after they led 2-1. And even more devastating is the 2 goals scored in a 3-minute span by a former St. Louis player in Minnesota, losing to them for the second time that week. And now off the back of the loss this weekend, Olof Melberg has been relieved of his duties in St. Louis, Tom, and the club has to move on once again. What's your read on like what you're hearing and sort of how this all went down?
This is the right decision, I think, to let Olof Melberg go. It's a poor reflection on the club for making this decision in the winter, the fall, to hire him. But the sunk cost fallacy would be just, oh, well, we hire, we thought it was the right thing at that time. So the more damning thing is why they hired him. So this team has had the identity of high pressing, gegenpressing, transition, all that. I just assumed that's what Olof Melberg was going to play. And then he never met a center back that he didn't like and didn't want to play. I asked somebody at the club just, hey, how's in preseason? I was in Coachella. Hey, how are things going? And it was not great. And I was like, that's really interesting.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
I wonder how bad things actually are for you to feel comfortable. Like, instead of lying to me or just being like, things are fine. It's like when somebody asks you, hey, how are you doing? I'm good. Are you really good? Probably not. But you just say you're good. It wasn't like I was probing for information there. It was just like, hey, how's it going? Not great. So that wasn't a good sign. And early in the season, they had good defensive results. Berkey gets hurt, and then that wasn't sustainable. And they've just been straight up bad. They've been aimless, and they've been just uninteresting to watch, unadventurous. And the biggest damnation is this team under John Hackworth last season. The same players were fun. They were productive. They weren't playing at a supporter shield level pace, but they were a good team and a fun team. And all of that momentum is gone right now.
So here's an absurd thing. They are averaging a higher XG per game this season than they did in 2023 when they finished first in the Western Conference. The defense is not as good, which is funny in the light of that seems to be the space Olof Melberg has leaned. You mentioned all the center backs. A lot of that goes on Roman Berkey. His performances 2 years ago were probably unsustainable, and he's been out a lot this year. So I think that goes into like, okay, all the issues they have been magnified because the results have now dropped off with it. And a big part of that is the injuries to Berkey, as well as some other players. I went on and did a local podcast with some of our good friends out in St. Louis, and I had said, like, you reliant on Joachim Nielsen, right? How much money can you pay a guy, and how many years can you see him be injured to say, oh, well, if we weren't injured, then we'd be better. It's like, well, you don't get to do that. And as someone who's a fan of teams that have done stuff like that all the time, I can understand the frustration and the pain. So there's there's a lot going on here. And I think that's what's tough for me is a manager 3 months in, it can't all be on him. There are clear problems with the build of the club and the resources of the club. And if it is purely on him, then there's a problem with the hiring process because you've gotten to this point and clearly you didn't get enough of the background that you thought you'd have to say, oh, this is the right person. Here's the quote from Lutz, Fan and Steel in the offseason. He said, Olof has an incredible work ethic and reputation for being disciplined and detail-oriented. His leadership qualities as a captain, both at the highest club level and with his national team, will be key to managing our group. We're talking 4 months ago, right? That's the comment that comes out. Then you have now yesterday, quote, the decision to part ways with Olof goes beyond just results. We've analyzed the team's performances across a number of factors, including the need to execute against a style of play that led to the team's initial success and has been part of our DNA for 4 years. Spoilers, you fired the guy who did that the first time, and now he's doing it for a different team, and they're doing it well. As a club, we have certain standards we need to meet and believe a coaching change was necessary to improve our overall performance and return to a winning culture. Our fans deserve a better performing team, and we intend to give them one. So to have someone that you've said 3 months ago has leadership qualities and will set that culture and then now be turning around, it just shows, I think, a larger amount of chaos in the club than purely just Olof Melberg is not the right person for this role.
Yes. So yeah, I think that's fair, right? To have that larger conversation. And I just kind of want to pause before getting to that because again, like in the here and now, we'll talk about mistakes from the past or things that did not work out. Yes, Bradley Cornell, I thought that was way too quick of a trigger. And then I would have hired John Hackworth. They ended up not going with him. But from the winter on, again, you don't keep this manager just because of the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Like, again, there's plenty of blame to go around. But to, like, absolve Olof Melberg from any blame, how many games can we watch him play, Josh Yoro, Hebert, Nielsen, and Jonas Horn, and insert any center back and put a wing back at center mid and just play boring and scared and cautious? I'm sure he did not say that in his job interviews. Again, I'm not necessarily defending the club. I guarantee he's not saying that as, you know what I'm going to play? I'm going to play with 7 center backs, and I'm going to hope to God that we have a 0-0 game because Roman Berkey's really good.
Yeah. But, like, that's on you to figure that out. I think part of that is you hired a manager who doesn't have a ton of work experience here that you can dig into. So, yes, he's a great interview. He knows what to say. He's
a handsome guy.
Jose Nunez was in the chat saying we've lost a handsome one in MLS, like pour
Good
one
time.
out. Yeah, he's charming. He's engaging. He has this great resume. But the risk you took in hiring someone with not a ton of work experience in this role is you can't dig into that and say, this is what we're going to get. This is what we need. I think it's something we remember with Hernan Losada of had managed as a first team like a year and a half. And not everyone, Montreal knew what they were getting and just didn't care. DC didn't know what they were getting. That's the risk you take in that spot, which I think is tough. And it's, what you're weighing in all of this is, okay, are we going to go with experience or less experience? The less experience maybe has a higher ceiling, and maybe that's what we lean into. But you'd hope then that there would be that cohesion and probably control, some level of influence from the front office, which is now at the time filled with John Hackworth, who had just managed the team successfully, and Lutz Van den Steel, who had put it all together to be engaged with the coach and figuring that out. This is the can we shock the system and get some results and turn this season around move at this point, which would be my reaction to the sunk cost fallacy of don't stay with it. Yeah. But also, are you pivoting too quickly? And what you're pivoting for, is it worth it? Is it worth sneaking into the 8-9 spot this year?
Pivoting away from this, I don't care what direction it is, any other direction. I think that's my central feeling. And
if you had some belief in this, though, then you have to have that belief over some segment of time, even if it's tough. And that's where it feels very lost to me. Yeah. There's not a North Star if you are saying 3 months in that, okay, we have to get out of this.
Yeah. No, but again, I just don't, I wouldn't understand the logic of not making this decision or waiting and waiting and waiting because you think it looks bad on you. Or the front office of the club or whatever, right? I don't think this was going to get any better under the current situation. It reminds me of Charlotte FC firing Miguel Angel Ramirez like 14 games into the inaugural season. So it was even quicker because of the runtime from we're starting from scratch, and he's helping build that roster.
Yeah.
And then the difference is obviously he's coming out publicly and just saying the dumbest things possible, including on top of the we're screwed thing, saying that Ari Lassiter is one of the best players in the league. We need to be really careful. It's just anytime he opened his mouth, it's like, wait, what did he just say?
So, spoilers, Charlotte were bad for 2 years and a mess. That moment was an indication of that. And I think that's what I'm saying, which is this to me is now a symptom of a larger issue and not just this is an isolated issue and this is the isolated problem. It's also fascinating to me now on the back of that, which is you said in this, John Hackworth's ability to get results at a playoff pace last year was why there was high hopes. He now does not become interim manager. David Critchley gets elevated from the 2 team to be interim manager, and now John Hackworth is in charge of the 2 team.
I don't know this for certain of if he was offered to be interim or not, but I do know he was not happy to not get the full-time job last year. I don't think that he would want to be interim without any guarantees of the full-time job. Again, that's more speculation, but that is a pretty decent educated guess of, like, screw you, I'm not doing this again. Like, give me the job or not.
Which, again, does not signify a strong culture and club where people are on the same page, enjoying what they're doing, going in the right direction.
Dude, it's sliding doors moments. We can do the what ifs and stuff, but it was Hackworth and Danny Cruz was going to be the assistant.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a much better outcome. And again, and like even at that, take it all the way back. I don't think Cornell should have been fired.
Yeah.
And then I think you should have hired Hackworth and Cruz. And then, here we are.
Baggio Husidic is being elevated alongside David Critchley from the 2 team to the 1st team. MLS legend. Love Baggio Husidic. Love to see him back involved, getting an opportunity. Critchley, if you don't know, has been an academy coach since 2021. So for a really short, for a club with a very recent founding, has actually a ton of experience, him and Hackworth, around this group and around the club and what they're trying to build. Brought in as a U16, U17 coach, became the 2 coach last November and now elevated to the interim manager. I think his background, he's from England, came over to play college soccer over a decade ago and then hung around coaching college soccer and youth levels. So has never coached a first team, has never coached fully professional until starting in November with their 2 team and now being pushed into this. It's a big role. And I think the expectation will be that there will be some reaction. It's hard to think how it happens. They're not just going to get healthier because you have a new manager, so you're still going to have to manage a bunch of the issues. There are problems with the roster build. Like you have pieces that make a lot of money, like Ostrak or Nielsen, who are either not useful or not healthy. You have Klaus, who you have to figure out how he fits in and how he gets comfortable. Obviously, last year under Hackworth, Betcher played really well, and then Klaus sort of found his way alongside him. Maybe you're able to put something together similar. Jean De Silva's been the one ad that they've made, and you haven't seen his impact. That's another guy on a TAM contract where you're looking to see.
I don't. Stop it. You think that they're holding all of that money?
No, I don't.
Then he's not a TAM contract.
Okay, fine. That's fair. I don't know where you're getting production. You tapped into Hartle last year. You're hoping for that again. Lovin being available changes a ton for them as well, and Berkey being available would change a ton. That's not something the coach, whoever the name is, controls.
No, that's fair, but I think if the best 11 is all available, and it hasn't been, so to be fair to Olof, like Berkey missed some time, Teutsch missed some time, Lovin has been mostly out, but a lineup of the 3-4-2-1 or 1-2, however it actually configures, of Berkey, Jonas Horn, Baumgartner, Kessler, and then Valem and Totland, Lovin and Durkin probably, Hartle, Teutsch, Klaus, or Betcher. I think that's a playoff team and not a top 4 team by any stretch.
Yeah.
But this was one of the teams I felt pretty decent. And again, I made the assumption that they must be hiring somebody who wants to play transition, high pressing, whatever, right? I was wrong. I think that was their biggest mistake of maybe he said that's how he wanted to play and then change it in preseason. Who knows? But with that, it's not a high ceiling, but it's a pretty high floor. And I think that's a disappointment is that they've been just so uncompetitive or like just very clearly not good enough because this team is all set up to play in one style and they're not playing that style. Like Marcel Hartle, like defending deep.
Yeah.
Like João Klaus in transition. It's not really the idea. This is supposed to be a high pressing team. This is supposed to be an all action team. This is supposed to be we're going to create chances via the press because they don't have like a chance creator. Like again, Hartle is that, but he's more of like a combo forward of like a goal scorer or a presser.
He
rather
creates
than like
chances in those transition
Exactly.
and pressing moments, not against a set defense
So,
when the game is settled.
If you want to play defend in a low block or try to possess sideways, this would be one of the 5 worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
If you play pressing as intended by the strengths of all of the players on this team, this should be a team that finishes between, I don't know, 5th and 10th in the West. Again, we're not raising any banners for that, but like this team should be much better. And that's on the coach.
Yeah. Looking past this year and at the role, because we have someone in the chat saying, how desirable is this? They've now axed 2 coaches quickly. Like if you're a coach looking at a job, it doesn't look like a settled place to go. You mentioned the Jean de Silva contract. I'll just throw in here, looking at our salary cap tables. For the most part, most of their money frees up and their spots open up. Hartle's on a long-term deal. I think you're fine with that. Nielsen still has one more guaranteed year as like a max TAM guy. Lovin has another guaranteed year as well. For the most part, most of the other money is options and up this year. So if you are a coach, there is flexibility to change the group into what you want it to be. And I would hope that if Critchley's not going to be the guy, that they make this hire during this season. Like coming out of the summer, you should make the hire, whether they coach or not, have them around to make decisions so that what steps on the field on the first game of the 2026 season, which will probably be in December after the World Cup, because who the hell knows what's going on, that coach has had a decent chunk of influence on the way it all fits together and the way it works.
I would agree with that. And again, that's just another reason why I think Hackworth earned the job last year. But I digress. I'm not just going to keep bringing up the same point.
No, you should. You should try again.
But this is a team that has been very public and very open about the best deals happen in the summer. That's when we want to use our primary window.
Right.
I know that it doesn't always align. And that hurt them last year, which is, I guess, what's so disappointing about how bad they've been this year is that, okay, well, the summer transfer window, like, one, they don't have a lot of flexibility. But even if they did, the summer transfer window doesn't open until there's 8 games left. Like,
yeah,
the season's going to be over if you don't get better within the next couple of weeks. So, on that thread, if that's their thinking for coaches too, they should be making a permanent hire during the season. Or could it be Gio Savarese is somebody I'd call. Again, Jim Curtin, I don't know why he would take this.
Yeah.
And Gio...
He's turning down Atlanta interviews and
Exactly.
whatever else. He's turning this down.
And again, you could look at assistants at clubs, or you could look at like Adrian Heath. Could he be somebody who makes sense? I don't know. I don't. It would depend on how he's not like a pressing coach, right? But if you get somebody like that in, somebody who's either free, open right now, or somebody who's at a European club who's in the off season,
where's Hernan Losada?
You should be making a permanent hire now. And to go back, like, yeah, no, this job isn't as desirable as Atlanta was in the winter, or as LAFC is going to be in this following winter, or, you know, insert any other very quote big teams. There's only 30 of these jobs. So at the end of the day, all of them are super interesting. Again, you look, like, again, not to take a pot shot at Montreal, but like, that's people still were trying to get that job. And that's not a team that spends highly. That's not a team that has a lot of stability or a ton of success, all like in recent years outside of the Wilfred Nancy time. And that's still a job that people are reaching out about. So when we talk about attractiveness, no, this isn't Atlanta in the winter or LAFC next winter, but it's pretty attractive to be a head coach of one of the 30 MLS teams. I know that for a fact.
We had this question from a couple people across the Discord and in our comments and all this other stuff. I mentioned a lot of the money coming off the books. This is a 2-4-2 team the way we think it's set up right now. Do you think there's any world in which, and Klaus is like barely a DP, you think there's any world that they switch to a 3-3? Is this a team that starts spending off the back of this and changes that style?
I mean, maybe in the future, but all we can do right now is like go off of what they said and what I've heard. I'd be doubtful. And again, like, this is like Luch Van Steel. Hey, we want to be a designated team. We don't want where we have one guy making $5 million and then the rest of the team making $700,000 or whatever, right? Like, so unless there's been a drastic change, or if there's like feeling some pressure about the interim future, and again, or if ownership is saying, here's the money, spend it, I'd be doubtful. That doesn't mean I know for certain, and that doesn't mean that it can't happen. We'll see.
Diego Gigliani, who is the president and general manager of this club, said yesterday, we understood it would take time for Olof to become acclimated to Major League Soccer and certainly acknowledge injuries made his job difficult, but we simply could not continue down this path. We were disappointed we were not able to find success under Olof. We wish him nothing but the best success in his future endeavors. We move on with St. Louis.
Hold on. Sorry, guys. I want to hear, is on a scale of 0 to 10, games gone, a extensive thank you 4-quote press release for a coach that lasted 15 games. Games gone, 0 to 10.
I think a 2 on that one.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that would have triggered you.
Why?
That.
Yeah, I know. The whole thing is a vibe, but you could argue the game's back. Pressure's on, man. Everyone in butcher shops across St. Louis are demanding results.
Mate, if this was England, it would have been a club logo, official communication.
One sentence.
Here's the news.
Yeah, one sentence. It wasn't good enough. He has left the club. Yeah, maybe. You might be right. For St. Louis, they will hope that it turns around some of the results for them. Let's jump into the midweek action before we talk CCC, Conca Champions. Yes, that is what we are going to call it. And talk about the, what do we call it, Club World Cup bag game? Like, that's just what we're going to call it, I think, at this point, between LAFC and Club America. Let's start off with the big story from the midweek. Lucho Acosta's return to Cincinnati with FC Dallas. He, of course, signed a new contract a year or so ago, took out a newspaper ad saying, this is my home, Cincinnati's who I am, this is where I want to be. Then a few months later, they lost in the postseason, and he came out of the locker room and said, I don't know that I can play here anymore. I think I have to leave. And then there was the whole experience, back and forth. Is he going to Argentina? Is he staying? Is he going to preseason? Is he not? We covered all of it for you here at SoccerWise. Thank you so much to Tommy Scoops. And then he eventually goes to FC Dallas. Evander goes to Cincy. David Acosta goes to Portland. I guess Alan Velasco going to River is a part of this as well.
Boca.
River or Boca? Boca. Eventually now we get all the way back around to Lucho coming back to Cincinnati for the first time. And the fans booed him. Don't know that was unexpected for most people.
Yeah.
Outside of the Acosta family, clearly, and maybe other people at FC Dallas. Lucho Acosta returned. They end up tying 3-3. We'll talk about the game. Acosta, on being booed after, said, quote, I think they should be grateful. Game's back, mate. Game is back.
His full quote was, quote, I thought they were going to receive me a little better. But the truth is, I know very well what I did here. I know what I gave to this club. And the truth is, people should be grateful. We gave them a supporters shield. I gave them an MVP campaign and a goal of the year. I think they should be grateful. But I hold my head high with what I did for the club.
Rough that Nabisco didn't get a mention in the goal of the year, or whoever sponsors it. Clearly that one sticks with Lucho Acosta. I gave them a goal of the year. Also, I think that's fan voting. They actually may have given that to you.
I thought it was Lucho Oriano.
Oh, yeah, I don't even know. I could not tell you a single goal of the year.
Wow. Brand recognition, Goss. I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
We're going to need a PowerPoint deck on that.
AT&T, call me. Sponsor us. Let me know. Whoever
no free ads. We're going to bleep that out for the podcast.
Yeah.
Only Miller Lite. So, I love Lucho Acosta. I think he's an absolute magician. I think he's a genius. And sometimes with genius, you get this. Talking to people at the club during this whole saga as it was unfolding. Again, first of all, they had no idea after the playoff game he was going to publicly ask for a transfer. They had no idea. They were hoping Lucho being Lucho, he'll take a week off and he'll be fine and everything will be normal. So you know that there's going to be some nature of a mercurial talent. Like this all comes with it with this special number 10. I say all to say, does he not have people in his life that prepared him for this? In what world was he not going to get booed?
Yeah.
This again, it's not that he just left in a normal way. The timeline of events is they lose a playoff game in which he was bad down the last third of the season. Just straight up, he was not himself, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not blaming him for the playoff loss, but just like, all right, if you're going to take shots and want to leave, what's fair is fair. So that came. The next couple days, he's scheduled to speak to the media in like an exit interview. He does his exit interview with the club and everything. He's scheduled to speak with the media. he comes out of like Albright's office, and PR is like, okay, cool, this will be 10 minutes, nice and quick, don't worry. And he goes, I gotta go right now. I have a family thing. And they were like, you don't have 10 minutes? He's like, no. And they were like, fair enough, we'll respect that, whatever. 2 hours later, he's on an ESPN Argentina interview.
Jimmy Butler, they can't win without me.
Saying, I want to go back to Boca. I want to go back to Boca. And then so the way it was being talked about is, okay, I could see sympathy of, I want to go to Boca Juniors. Love that club. Want to go back to Argentina. Well, then Boca Juniors buys Alan Velasco. And now it's like, I just want to leave Cincy. I was like, well, so was that where you were at the whole time? Because this whole, this is my home thing, all that. All right, now it's getting read to a really bad spot. And then he doesn't show up on time for preseason. Just refuses to come. He comes, 10 days late? And then is getting angrier and angrier that he's not immediately put in full team training sessions or preseason games. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't been reported about between him and the front office and everything. Like, things were not great while he was around. And then he does an interview complaining about I'm not allowed in training, and also just shreds Chris Albright to the point where the club has to come out and say, we stand by Albright, and rightfully so. And then he's still asking Albright, why aren't I allowed in training? And from what I was told, there's some way that it was sent back to him, his quotes about
nice.
the interview and everything. And so at the end of all of this, to be like, yeah, why aren't you guys grateful for me? I mean, dude. And again, he can make these decisions, do whatever. At the end of the day, he left. He got to he wanted to leave and he left. And if you need to make it messy to get out, whatever, man. Fair enough. All the power to you. You can do that if you choose to. Except the drawbacks of what's going to come with this. They're not exactly going to be holding up your jersey asking for autographs when you come back to Cincinnati.
Do you feel like you lived through this a lot? Because it feels like you kind of remember a bit of it, and there's a bit of emotion for you as well.
Oh, I remember being here for every step of the way, so that's
Yeah.
Again, even 60% of that, I'd be like, I understand getting booed,
and
40% of that, I understand getting booed. I just don't know how he went to the stadium and was just like, can't wait for the tribute video.
100%. And I think to me, the kicker on top of all of this is still that he signed the new contract. Yeah. And Chris Albright said on this show when I interviewed him at GA Cup of like, we're in win now mode. I don't know that we're always going to spend like this. I can guarantee you the conversation with Lucho was like, this is what you want. We want to do it because we believe we can win now. So to take the deal and then but like in essence, what he ended up doing could have blown up the whole project of what they were building if the new rule doesn't come into place and they can't flip and get Evander because he's also pushing his way out. Like, that's all kind of fortunate. There's no history that says, oh, this team will be fine. They'll just bring in the next one. So what Lucho did was selfish, and you're allowed to do that. You're an adult. You're allowed to do whatever you want, but there are repercussions for actions. And like, that's what we saw. And I would throw in the, like, I did this for them. He did not have the track record to be a pure DP before this happened. He was not the best player at DC United. He did not perform in Mexico. So Cincinnati also gave him an opportunity. There is a two-way road with this. There is no doubt in my mind, the way he played his MVP season, he carried them through a ton of results.
Oh my God.
And got them to trophies that they don't get without him. But it is not purely, I gifted my abilities to this team. If it's not for me, they don't exist. And like, I'm the lone entity that did this. It's a two-way road on some of that. On top of all of that, as you said, you got to have people in your life who are like, hey, this is what's going to happen, by the way, because this is the way this went down. And clearly, that's not the case for him. We do have Sean Pace in the chat who said it was a mix of booze and many folks like me who just kept quiet. I appreciate Lucho, but the way it ended stings with him forcing his way out. I think you could kind of tell, like, it was not, from TV, it was not overwhelming. I think for most people, it was the videos that were taken of the supporter section inside, which is a bit more specific and, like, zoomed in on people who are locked in, knowledgeable, and
there
maybe
have a 13-year-old who gave the double birds, and it just made me happy. not that it's just that it was a child that's been raised that way, and I'm like, that is a New Jersey, that's New York City. I love it.
The one person who turns around and is pointing to the Evander 10 jersey that they're wearing, which used to be Lucho's 10 jersey. I thought that one was pretty funny as well.
Funny.
So, like,
that was clever. I enjoyed
all of that goes into the context of all of this. Now in the game, fascinating stuff going on. Cincinnati have now conceded 7 goals in 5 days. We're talking about one of the best defenses in the league. Injury is clearly a problem. I don't think it's 100% of this. This is like out of character over the week. And super frustrating in the context of Lucho's back. Let's finish the job. You're up 2-0 at halftime. You then take a 3-2 lead after conceding 2 goals, somewhat against the run of play, although Dallas was much better in the second half.
Yeah.
After the substitutions, the first half, Dallas was lifeless. They didn't know when to press or where to press. They sat in. They weren't good enough. Urugide goes down with an injury. That makes things even harder for them. They made one big change at halftime. Pedrinho comes in. Musa, I thought, as I have said many times, I think he's most useful to them dropping in and helping creating more often because there's not enough possession for this team. And Lucho is on an island and has not really linked up with Musa the way he did with a Brenner and a Vasquez, where it was like, okay, we don't have numbers, but we all know where we're going and we can all attack on our own. And then you get the 2-2. Anderson Julio with a goal, which was well taken.
A really good play with Pedrinho. That was an excellent dribble.
Yeah. On that play, though, Orejano doesn't drop. Flores doesn't recognize. Celentano's tied to his line. It was a comedy of errors. That's kind of where Cincinnati sits. And then Cincinnati ends up scoring the goal through Dado Valenzuela to take the 3-2 lead late. And they give up a goal to Sebastian Ibiaga in stoppage time to tie 3-3. And now they've dropped, over the course of the 5 days, they've dropped, 5 points, which maybe not everyone expects to get. But if you want to win a supporter shield, those are points that you were anticipating on 2 teams that aren't in the playoffs.
Exactly. An Atlanta team that came into that game just rock bottom, and a Dallas team that I think was below the playoff line or hovering around and hasn't been very impressive this season as they're still finding their own feet. Eric Quill was suspended for this one, the Dallas coach. Like, again, first of all, Cincy at home, they are expecting to beat everybody every single time they play at home. And whether it's Dallas or whether it's Columbus or whether it's Miami or insert any other team, but particularly so with Dallas coming midweek, the added juice of the Lucho Acosta return. What I thought was interesting in the post-game press conference for Noonan, he was direct and honest. I mean, he took accountability. Here's talking about the game, quote, "We were embarrassing in the second half. That falls on me because there were guys that had no idea how to manage a 2-goal lead and manage momentum we had coming out of the break." Then he was asked, hey, what on the defense? Like an open-ended question about the defense. All he goes is, there's a lot to work on. We're not good enough defensively. He's fuming after the game, as he should be. I know the team is disappointed. Like you said in the Shield race, that's got to be 3 points. And even if when Dado Valenzuela scored the go-ahead goal, it was like the 88th minute or something like that. It was very late.
Hang on, it was the 86th.
You assumed, oh my God, that was a scare.
You stole 3 points back.
Exactly, exactly. Like, hey, even if they won 3-2, we'd be coming out of this being like, okay, like what the hell's going on right now? And so even when you felt, okay, whatever, we got the 3 points, we'll deal with this later. And to not close that out is just really, really disappointing. And again, this is a team that I think since we've talked probably a couple weeks ago of what's scary is that they picked up so many points and they clearly have a couple other levels to hit, assuming they were going to be building through this time. They've gone the other way. And again, I think that this is more of a blip over a long season. Still very frustrating, still things they need to work on. But I still hold them in the highest regard. But it's been just a really disappointing 5 days.
One of the things that would convince me it's a blip is Matt Miazga didn't play in this game. He's still working his way back. He can't go on short rest. There are not midweeks all season, and he will get closer to full fitness. If you have Miles Robinson and Matt Miazga on the field most games, it's going to look a lot better. Obviously, the Nick Hagelin injury now makes this feel even worse because you're missing another center back that you thought you could rely on. I think in this game, Dallas defended very narrow, and it sucked Orejano and Yedlin higher up the field, which, okay, you're home, you want to create chances and score, but I think that's part of the up 2-1, maybe my team wasn't ready to manage that, of does Orejano need to be that high up the field when the ball's on the other side, and then he's not even close enough to communicate with Flores, let alone get back to Mark Anderson Julio. I put this in my notes, and I'll say this, and then we can move on because we don't have to keep digging in. I won't be surprised when Kai Kamara is starting for this team. Sergio Santos has given them very little. Corey Baird has been extremely underwhelming. Kai looked fine coming off the bench. Like he looked like Kai.
Really good, man.
Yeah, he almost scored one of his own. He creates the chaos that leads to Valenzuela's goal. He's making runs down the line, and he's, stride for stride with players. Like, he looks like the guy he looked like. He should have probably started more at LAFC last year. I think this is an even easier fit for him. This is back to the Montreal style of like, he can drop in and help Denke. They're going to serve a ton of crosses in. The way this roster is built right now, I think he ends up being a starter at one of the two forward positions.
I agree with that, but you still have to, like, again, as much of, like, his biological age has to be younger than what he actually is, because this dude is unbelievable fitness, right? But you still have to be careful and manage it and not overload him. What I'm expecting them to invest in the attack this summer. U22 initiative is the most likely, but we'll see if they're able to do an outgoing for an incoming to get more of a, not quote unquote veteran, but like somebody who's not a U22. Like, they could do both, I think. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I do know that they want to address the attack.
Why don't they flip one of those center backs to San Jose and bring in one of the 37 strikers?
You keep saying that, except they desperately needed every center back on the roster last year, and then now Hagelin's out and Miazga, like you said, they're
that's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. They play three of them, so they need a decent
touch any of the center backs.
I think Nwabodo and Buka, though, have looked better over the last few weeks, even with the lack of results, and I think that's promising for them. Let's just go through some of the other wild games from yesterday. Let's start with Atlanta-Orlando there. Orlando came out.
Jesus.
They come out flying, early goal from Cesar Araujo, and you got the full experience in this one. Maybe a soft red card in the end, but a red card for him, so he gets the first goal. Moranchuk equalizes. Ramiro Enrique is pretty much gifted a chance by Derek Williams. Up 2-1 at Atlanta. You're in this incredible run, right? Your longest undefeated streak in your club's history. Atlanta are fairly down and out. You end up with a red card from Cesar Araujo for, what is it, hands around the face and throat and all of that stuff? Like, that's the terminology?
Yes.
Okay. And then they concede to make it 2-2, and they end up conceding to lose 3-2 late on, playing down a player, making it much tougher for themselves. And you kind of got like the full range of stuff with this Orlando team, and Atlanta trying to keep up with you, Tom, and saying they are back and you could take it for real coming out of Sunday.
When Cesar Araujo scored on, I don't know if I want to blame Guzan or be too mean. It seemed like a pretty
ball.
A tame effort from 22 yards out. I was just like, oh boy, like, I feel stupid for saying that they might.
You felt worse there than you did about Derek Williams gifting a goal.
I don't know. I just felt worse the whole time. I don't know if I can compare the 8 years. But honestly, dude, credit to Atlanta for fighting back. And even in that moment, like, Tiari getting the goal at the end, like, that was a really cool scene. Getting the equalizer with Schließ. Still no goal contributions in this game from Latte Lat or Almiron. Continues to be an issue. Are you ready to declare Alexei Moranchuk back after a goal and an assist, David Goss?
So the goal and the assist is nice.
Nice.
And this is always me, right? I felt he was playing with more force and aggression before the goal. So I'm saying that I was there before the results came with it.
In the 18 minutes of the game, the first 18 minutes.
Absolutely. After conceding an early goal that he didn't close down on and no one closed down on, I thought he played really well for 12 minutes and then eventually scores the goal. So I'm there on it. I don't know. The balance is weird and wrong. I thought Saba looked good in this game.
He did.
And I thought part of it was because of Moranchuk. And like you got to create some connection. Someone has to play well together. And if it's just those two, and maybe Almiron and Latte Lath have a connection, and it's like, the four don't fit together, that's still better than what's been going on so far. So I think like you'll take some of that. I think overall, I am still now coming out of this week, like, I believe a little bit more in Atlanta. There's at least some fight in it. And we didn't know what's been going on, and it was tough because clearly Ronnie Dyla gave a long answer about how Derek Williams is their defensive anchor to the broadcasters, and Mark Followell was sort of repeating it, I think, kind of as Derek Williams passed the ball back into Ramiro Enrique's path and conceded the goal. But to come all the way back, to get the chance, and I think a lot of it came through the threat of Saba. Just run at people. No one can stay with you. You're really clean in possession at high speeds. Even if the decision making is tough for you when you get to the end of it, it's still going to make the team more dangerous. It's still going to make the team better. And so at least you saw some of that for them. And then on the flip side for Orlando, I don't worry about it a ton. I will say, I think central midfield, they're not as deep as possible. And so losing Araujo for whatever amount of games it ends up being.
I think that they're, I think that they're going to, well, maybe I shouldn't be flippant about that. It seems to me that they're going to challenge that, whatever the correct term is.
Yeah.
To get that overturned. Like Oscar Prey after the game.
Who also got a red card.
We will follow our protocols to address the refereeing tonight. It changed the whole game for us. That indicates to me that they're going to reach out. And then, yeah. And that's the thing. I don't think that we got any other views of Ronnie Dylan, Oscar Pereira.
No, it was just, and I couldn't tell the shot we got of it. I couldn't tell if it was after Oscar had already been red carded or it's what caused the red card.
They didn't show the red card on the broadcast, which is sick.
Yeah.
Probably not important to show or show a replay. And that we got that one clip of Ronnie Dylan. Go ahead.
Well, I really do wonder if the fight was, one was like, I'm going to wear a white t-shirt to the game. Don't wear a white t-shirt. And then the other person wore the white t-shirt. And it's like that. Clearly, Ronnie Dylan is probably saying that's my thing.
Yeah.
And Oscar wasn't having it.
Yeah. I think that's all we can do is speculate.
Yeah. SideQuest 78 says they were about to throw down. I don't know if SideQuest is an Atlanta fan and was in the building. I'm sure people saw it go down. So
you let us know if you got a better angle, if you recorded it and sent it to us.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know exactly what happens. But even if they do on Araujo, that doesn't mean it's going to get flipped. And obviously, it's not long term. Like, it's fine. I think Orlando, who do they play this weekend? I probably should have had that written down before I said what I said.
All right, while you're doing this, does this Alexi Moranchuk change your opinion of his performance? Quote, this game, it's all about, I think, if you know that DJ Khaled song, God Did, this was about the game. Does that...
was that a quote from Alexi Moranchuk?
Direct quote from Alexi Moranchuk, yeah.
I might need another one on that if we're going DJ Khaled, but yeah. I think I might be sucked in by that one. Listen, I'm a Miami guy now. If you quote any of the greats, Socrates, Plato, Pitbull, or DJ Khaled, I'm intrigued and I'm listening. So, yeah, he's starting to win me over. Orlando has Chicago this weekend, so maybe Araujo and Brian Gutierrez can watch the game together. That's a fun matchup, though. Those are two teams that I like a little bit. Obviously, Orlando's been better so far over this last run. Let's talk a little bit. Diogo Goncalves. Oof. Missing RSL's 1-1 draw with Austin FC. Jason Christ said, quote, because of disciplinary reasons, it came down to his behavior in training sessions. It's not been up to RSL standards. That is the last thing you want to hear about a DP who also hasn't played up to the standards for a club that is struggling mightily in the attack.
Yeah, I was told that part of the rationale is that he's not attacking his heel rehab with the right attitude. That was kind of one of the, again, I don't know, I didn't get to listen to the full interview by Jason Christ. Maybe he said that on there or not, but I appreciate his honesty on that too. Diogo Goncalves has 1 goal and 1 assist in just under 1,000 minutes this season.
Tough.
It's unfortunate, particularly with the backdrop of they thought that they had a DP9 come in this winter, and then that didn't happen. And so to get nothing from Goncalves on top of that, and again, he's in the 50th percentile in expected goals plus expected assists, 40% percentile in shot creating actions, 54th% in progressive passes, and 6th% in progressive passes received. It's just not good enough. He's just and again, he was benched for a reason, and you shouldn't be making concessions based on a sliding scale of impact, but we all know that's how the world works. I think if there's a high paying player to air quote make an example of the culture, not so hard to do that when it's somebody with 1 goal, 1 assist in 1,000 minutes. Yeah.
The group then that goes on the field for RSL, I thought about this in the context of St. Louis, but we didn't talk about it. You know, Oklahoma City Thunder are going to the NBA Finals, and it's like, oh, they did the tanking, and then you win, and that's not a thing in MLS, right? Because the draft doesn't matter that way. I do think the version of tanking becomes playing a bunch of kids and helping their value and finding ways to find diamonds in the rough in that year. And having an attacking front of Gozo and Luna and Marchuk and Willie Gotta might be the MLS version of this.
Pretty fun.
I'm kind of here for it. I wish Luna had played Gozo in the last minute of the game in on the break rather than take it himself. And he wasn't far off taking it himself because Luna is a baller. But that was a little bit tough to watch. You did see an RSL team that just didn't know how to put their foot on the ball to maintain the result. And Austin threw everything forward. They should have scored the play right before that led to the corner kick that Diego Rubio scored off of. But it shows you what this RSL team is. They lack a ton of experience. They lack a ton of composure. They can't really control games. A guy like Diego Goncalves is someone you would look to in those moments and say, can we play through your feet? Can you slow the game down for us? He's unavailable because of this. And I think it shows sort of some of the problems that they're dealing with. Johnny Russell, second appearance, came off the bench.
Yeah.
It's
still drawing to me.
I'm here for the whole thing, though. I think one of his first plays, he tried to play it around someone and run it onto it.
Yep.
And he wasn't far off. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. So you've still got that in your bag. And wearing the Gadi Kinda armband. You can see it means something to him. A lot of the people coming out of Kansas City still dealing with the sort of the aftermath of losing one of their good friends at such a young age, which is terrible to see. Let's finish off talking about this midweek games with Jesus Ferreira's first goal.
We're going to skip over the Galaxy. No.
We could talk about the Galaxy.
I don't have much to say other than, my God. So
did
now
they win?
They've tied the longest single season winless run. So they've already set the longest winless run to start the season. Now it's 16. Now they are at level with the longest winless run within a single season, regardless of when it started or finished.
Yeah.
And they're 2 games off the complete record, which spans multiple seasons.
TFC across 2 years?
No idea.
Okay.
TFC or Cincy feels right.
Yeah. DC United can get thrown in there sometimes when you're not paying attention.
That's true. Yeah, I don't have a ton more else
it's
to
also
say, but
another.
I feel like we need to talk about this.
Yeah,
Nascimento started for the first time.
Yeah, he did. He's scrappy. He doesn't look super clean yet. I think part of that's getting comfortable. This was another game where at the end I was like, oh, the Galaxy lost that game. They are not getting blown out. They are not horrendous. Every time they're close, nothing goes in their favor. I was on Blue Sky talking about Peck and Painesville and just these moments where you see them where it's exactly like last year, but you have more defenders in front of them because no one's worried about Ricky Puig. Or the ball comes to them a half second slower and someone can close them. And you saw Peck a few times on the right, where last year it was first cut in, bang to the far post. A bunch of them got blocked. A bunch of them had numbers around. It's just a little bit different. I didn't think San Jose was good in this game either. This was a brutal watch, but they got the 1-0 win.
I was looking forward to chaos, and there was none. I don't want to hear. They didn't get blown off the field, bro. San Jose kept a clean sheet against you.
Yeah,
that sucks. That's awful. That's really bad. I don't want to hear any moral victories.
The Seattle Sounders kept a clean sheet against San Diego, and they did so.
That was a fun game.
For the majority of the game with John Bell and Stuart Hawkins as their center backs. Yaimar's out 2 to 4 weeks. Reagan was back for this game on the bench, which is good news, but I think they didn't want to risk him so early.
Yeah.
And then Kim Ki-hee went down the 30th minute in this one. So Hawkins comes off the bench. I've spoken about him on the show. I'm really high on him. I think he's part of what is a really impressive young cohort at center back. I think the strength of the national team for the next 10 years is going to be these center backs, the Neil Pierres and Stuart Hawkins of the world. There's a lot of really good players in those spots. It's hard to get the minutes, though, at the pro level. It's a tough position to be a young player in, especially in a league that spends all the money in the attack, is super physical and super athletic. So they were able to get him on the field in this one. They showed their depth. Jesus Ferreira gets a goal and felt like he got a goal in an area that you'd like to see him. It's not just put in on the break, penalty kick. It was cut back, first touch intelligent to turn his hips. And then the finish is creative and he uses the defender to sort of block the goalkeeper. And it's not just, I'm going to try and hit this as hard as I can. That's what made Jesus Ferreira really good for a really long time. He is super clean and makes really good decisions in the final third. He is maybe not the elite finisher, but he's creative enough that he can score a ton of goals. And it's got to be a huge weight off his shoulders.
Oh, for sure. And like you said, it was a well-taken goal. It was the right positioning. It wasn't I mean, any goal would have been great if the tap I would have been able to talk myself into, oh well, it was a tap in because that was good center forward movement, or like, oh, he banged one from 20 yards. That showed confidence, right? Like I'm sure I would have rationalized it anyway. But to the point, it's big that he's getting a goal. They need him to continue to be productive. A lot of his assists, not taking anything away, but a lot of the assists are secondary assists. So he is important in the middle, but he hasn't been the final pass either for the most part. But so to get the goal and to be in the attack, again, I think this team continues to look better and better. I thought San Diego played really well in this game.
Yeah.
There was more than a few moments, I think, for both teams of playing out of the back that seemed shaky. It's like I had multiple games up and I'd hear like the commentator like, oh, whoa! And Stephen Fry is 15 yards off the goal line, like kicking the ball, sliding to kick the ball out of touch, and CJ Dos Santos is scrambling back because they're trying to chip him for 40 yards. Like, I thought that was fun. San Diego played really well. I thought that they controlled more of the game, and I think Seattle were fine with that, particularly with the goal from Jesus Ferreira. But I still walk away from this one being impressed by San Diego's performance. I guess even more so for Seattle to get the 3 points.
So I don't disagree with you, but I think in the context of the conversation we had on Tuesday's show, where we were like, what are the teams we're intrigued by? We said for Seattle, like, get 3 points here, move closer to San Diego, put yourself in the 2 to 4 range, and prove that that's where you stand. And I come out of that game feeling that way. San Diego, I already felt that way. Like, I already knew they were there. I think Seattle now has, with all the injuries they've had, this is one of those games, and it's midweek MLS. So, of course, in the end, it's going to be meaningless. And me reading into it is like the craziest thing you could possibly do. But hi, I'm David. Nice to meet you. And so that's what I take away from this one. I want to hit another attacker yelling or being difficult to their coach. Gabriel Pirani scored a banger in the stoppage time to equalize for DC United 1-1 against the Revs. Eli Feingold with the opening goal in this one. Like, first time left foot
Feingold,
curled.
great signing. My God, what a great signing.
100%. But then Pirani here. Pirani has not started. Did not start this game. Has not been a starter. Scores the goal. 93rd minute, whatever it is. Runs over to the DC bench and celebrates like at Troy Lesane. And it feels like it's a play me more type thing.
You think that's going to work?
I mean, it can't not work. The guy's pouring in goals. He scored 1 goal the whole season. So, like, the proof is in the pudding, man. When he plays, he scores goals 1 time. So maybe in 10 games you could play him again and he'll score that game. Yeah, DC, a lot of things are rough. No Benteke. They're a tough watch right now. I think it was like a couple hundred minutes they hadn't scored a goal going into that one. It's been a pretty long streak. It is bold, and it's why people that wear the number 10, probably me and them wouldn't be best friends off the field, to be like, I scored, so therefore now everyone respect me. Honestly, he could have called up Lucho and been like, do they know how much I've done for them?
Taking pot shots at Pirani. I like him as a player. I think, particularly in this team, he should be getting more minutes given how much that they've been struggling in the attack. I was just laughing about I'm gonna go celebrate in front of my coach and show him up. Maybe this will be more minutes. It doesn't take a body language doctor to figure out that they don't love each other.
Yeah. So it had been 4 MLS games straight where that they had not scored. So it was
they had an Open Cup game in there at least.
Yeah, they scored 3 in the Open Cup game, and they scored in the Open Cup game before that one as well against the Charleston Battery. What?
I said multiple Open Cup games. Look at that. They're pouring the goals.
It's almost like if they only play an Open Cup, they'd be fine. And now we are back to the worst DC United season ever, where they won the Open Cup. And maybe that's what we are heading to as well. Let's talk about Vancouver. Just to mention, Nashville-Columbus, awesome game. If you are like going to sit around and watch something, it's one to watch. Serge scores in the 2nd minute. A lot of Columbus fans, I feel like we're having this, okay, great, now we're going to like pepper the goal and have 18 chances around goal and not score. Rossi ends up scoring. Then Columbus turns off. I think they were arguing that the throw-in was incorrectly given to Nashville. Nashville takes it quickly. Schaffelberg gets in behind the back line. His chance saved straight into Hani. Hani scores it to make it 2-1. And then Columbus scored like 90 seconds later or 2 minutes later. This game, to me, was just another one of like, Nashville are to be taken seriously. Not saying they're going to win the Eastern Conference. this is a good team with a high floor. Yep. They are worth tuning into week in and week out. They are a tough competition no matter who's on the field for them. Like, they've rotated. They've had to sometimes. They've chosen to other times, and they've been competitive. So I respect this Nashville team. I think this was another good game going in that direction of just proving to everyone that they are what we should think they are.
Yeah, they're a good, fun team.
One of the games that should have been a highlight midweek was the top two teams in the Western Conference. Vancouver against Minnesota facing off. Was not the case because Vancouver are playing in the CONCACAF Champions final coming up on Sunday down in Mexico City. Single game final. No away goals against Cruz Azul for a chance to be the second MLS team to win it in the modern era, to be the first Canadian team to do it, which is wild because all three of them have now made a final. Montreal 10 years ago, Toronto 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah. It is really cool that now Vancouver can put that feather in their cap. And then they started their best player midweek against Minnesota in a game that I didn't expect to see. Andres Kubas in the starting lineup, Veselinovic in the starting lineup. They started Tate Johnson. I think Sam Adekugbe is probably the starter at left back going into the next game.
I don't know, man.
He's been great, but to me, they then made 5 subs in the second half. This game ended 0-0. Minnesota had zero interest in the ball, which is who they have been. And Vancouver defended it fairly well. They were clean in possession. Sebastian Berhalter obviously started. Unfortunately, he's suspended for the final. So he was one you expected to get a ton of minutes. JC Nagando playing with them is interesting to me because I thought Nagando would be the one to start in Berhalter's place on the weekend. And so that's another one I thought they'd protect. They then made 5 subs. They brought on Brian White, Pedro Vite, Ali Ahmed, Tristan Blackman, friend of the show. Thank you, Tristan, for joining the show last week. And Sam Adekugbe. I don't know what's going on.
I'm good with them coming off the bench. Like, I think that's fine.
You don't need it. Like,
that's fair. I got no pushback.
It's the biggest game in your club's history. And I know they are going to go to Cruz Azul, dominate possession, win 4-1. Jasper Sorensen is the best manager in the region. I don't care. But, like, watching this is painful just as, like, someone who wants them to win on the weekend.
For people who are just listening to this audio only, you're missing just an all-time
this is what I look like
body language performance. Game. By God, like, I can't stop staring at you smiling. You did it earlier in the show with Acosta and some other stuff. Yeah. It's just been a whole. I just want to call it out while we're going
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad my anger can bring enough joy to people. I just wanted to check to be 100% sure on the minutes. So all of them came on for the most part in the 60th minute. So Blackman came on at halftime for Udvik, not for Veselinovic. So for a sub, not for a guy who's going to be a starter. Ahmed came on in the 60th with Brian White together. Vite came on in the 75th, and then Adekugbe came on in the 83rd. I'm not just talking about, like, energy. Like, you're protecting them in this. This is a competitive sporting event. And, like, Minnesota, I'm not saying they're dirty in any way, right. But, like, you're getting into tackles. You're getting into collisions.
Yeah,
and Vancouver looked more likely to win the game. Like, it was for value. I think they were on the verge of winning this game. They looked dangerous. They created chances, and Pedro Vite was a huge part of that, and Brian White was a huge part of that, and Ali Ahmed were a huge part of that. You are in first place in the Western Conference. You've got a shot at the Supporter Shield. That is what Axel Schuster said of, like, we didn't want to deal with fixture congestion later in the season. I think that's partially an eye on, like, we are really good and really dangerous. You're not going to have a better shot at winning the Shield than winning the final you're playing on Sunday. Like, that's the most likely trophy, even how unlikely it is to go to Cruz Azul. In saying all of that, well, I am Team Vancouver.
Are we entirely sure that Daniel Rios and Udvik won't start on Sunday? Because it feels like they rotate when they go to Mexico, and they still win.
And the joke I made last show was like, get ready to learn Vancouver too, buddy. And it's like, yeah. The players on the field, I think Jaden Nelson could be a starter. Sabby has been a starter. Like, no, they did not rotate in a way where you're like, who are these people? People who are potentially going to have a huge hand in the game. We're on the start from the start. Kubas playing 90 is wild to me. Like, he is the one you can't replace. All the other pieces are really, really good, but they have other players who do things similar or can maybe fill in. Kubas, it feels like, cannot. And now they're going to play for a CONCACAF Champions Cup, Champions League, whatever you want to call it, CONCACAF Champions final against a Cruz Azul team that is really, really dangerous. It's a Cruz Azul team, if you haven't watched, that has a ton of experience. So this is not like a young up-and-coming group like we saw maybe a little bit with the Pachuca group that Columbus played. It is a team that has Matty Bogusz in the attack, someone who's familiar with Vancouver and has terrorized Vancouver actually in really big games. It's obviously a team playing at home, and it's a team that has some tough history in finals. Like over the 30 years or so, over the last 30 years, Cruz Azul was famous for like bottling things at the last second. Knicks Mets Jets fan here. I couldn't understand what that would be like. And I'm sure all Metro Stars fans are ready to jump in the chat and be like, what could that possibly be like as well? It is a tough matchup. It is a winnable matchup, though. And I say that in the light of what Vancouver has already done on this run.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, they they advanced past Monterrey, advanced past Pumas, dominated Miami. And then you even go back, like their first round game they played Saprissa. This has been an incredibly difficult run. There has not been a give me in any of these games. No. And even when they played their one intra-league game, it was Miami. It was Messi. It was all them, right? Like, no matter how great, like, the average person was going to that assuming that Miami were going to win. Like, not us, thinking men. We were looking at Vancouver. But, like, this has been just an unbelievable run. And, like, this isn't any disrespect for Cruz Azul. They're an awesome team. But Vancouver, like, we've seen them do all this. Like you said, a good chance. And again, that's not downplaying the quality of Cruz Azul. Like, Cruz Azul, because they're home, probably favorites.
Yeah.
But, like, Vancouver doesn't care.
Yeah. We talked for a while, I think, which I really enjoyed, going into the Miami series about, like, what would winning the whole thing mean for the two. So we don't have to fully jump back into that. And my hope is that we're going to be celebrating that next week and lamenting, or not lamenting. Man, I've used the word lamenting wrong and pronounced it incorrectly a ton this week. It's been a tough performance for me. I probably should be subbed out, and you could bring on Andre Kubas in my place.
Landry Shamit.
Yeah. DeLon Wright, get him his minutes. Get him his minutes. This is going to age poorly when people listen to it as a podcast later on. This is, we had Axel Schuster on the show. We had Tristan Blackman on the show. We know the history. We know what's going on. The potential ownership change, the history of teams leaving Vancouver, they are committed to not. This breaks through. In a year in which soccer is going to be massive in Canada, and like the Canadian men's national team is on the road to hosting a World Cup and being hyper competitive in it, they may be on the road to going to a Gold Cup final like in a month. You want to be front and center of the sport. Vancouver has put themselves in that spot. You win this thing, like you're going to be across all the big shows, all the big media networks, everything that's discussing the game, Vancouver is going to be centered in, and then you can start to be the experts in it. And like people are going to continue to point to you and look to you, and you're going to be hosting World Cup games as well. So it comes at such a great time. The team has been really, really special to watch. It's repeatable, and yet it's not guaranteed. And I think that's like the dream as a fan, right? Is those years of like, oh, maybe it was a year too early, or maybe everyone's hitting on form, or everyone develops. And it's like, 1997, 2003 Miami Marlins of like, everyone got good. And then maybe everyone moves on afterwards. Who knows? This is a really special group. They're really fun to watch. They have so much confidence in what they do. Like, it's going to look similar to Columbus. When Columbus went down for the final, their hope is that they feel a little bit better and can perform. But like, Columbus went and played their soccer. Not everyone does that in Mexico. That comes from MLS because it's really hard to do and it's really intimidating. Vancouver's going to go and play their soccer. They may sit in for moments and let the game find itself, but like, they're going to get Ocampo down the wing. They're going to create chances. I think they can control central midfield. They're always a threat on set pieces because of Brian White. And the way they have this attack structured, and I think one of the questions for them is it Sabi or Nelson? I think Nelson's a little bit cleaner possession. Sabi stretches the field more. Ahmed can do both. And I think that's a bit of a flag to see like where does Sorensen think the game's going to go. I think that's one of the big decisions that they have to make. Left back's a big decision, whether it's Adekugbe or Tate Johnson. And that's another one where I think Adekugbe's on the field if you think you're going to be against it more because of his physicality, his ability to win a ton of tackles, and his experience. But there's a bunch of options for Sorensen. I don't think there are any bad answers to it.
Yeah, and the way that he's managed his team throughout the season, I'm almost whatever he chooses. I'm completely good with because of what they've done and how he's managed his group. On a personal note, I'm flying to Argentina during the game. Look at me right now, American Airlines. If Fox Sports 1 does not work on this flight, you are going to get a mean tweet at the very least if I remember when I turn my Wi-Fi on, or when I turn my phone on the next day after I land. Warning you right now.
I wonder how it works because I streamed a Mets game on American Airlines, and it was like you stream through their service on your phone. So you better. I've done
we
that
need
before battery packs. We need chargers.
No. That's on me. I can do that.
I'm saying.
Bill Belichick, do your job. No distractions, right? I'm going to do my job.
Not 2025 Bill Belichick.
No. This is
because he'll end up in Argentina for a whole different reason.
It's a good point. I'm going to do my job. American Airlines, no distractions. Do your job. Make sure this works. I'm going to have my cousin take care of that thing. You know.
Nice. One of the other things to note is we've seen Cruz Azul for the most part come out of a 5-3-2. Vancouver has at times. Laborda would be an option. Adekugbe would be an option as one of those wide center backs. I'd be surprised if they started in that. Like, I think they have enough of an identity not to. But Sorensen has managed these games to the opponent. And then as the games kind of have gone along, refound their identity. Inter Miami game, the Pumas game, like all of these games. So I wouldn't be shocked if that ends up being something that he does as well. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat. This is going to be one of those like blood pressure is high games. I think it's just one of those like big moments of a final where any mistake, any kick could be the moment. And so when you're watching, you're kind of like on edge the whole time, but that's the point. And so if you are excited about this game and you are not already, subscribe to our Patreon. It gets you access to our Discord. You can be in what we call the live hootenanny because we've got owls involved, and Hootski is very creative, one of the people who helps us with our Discord, who, happy birthday to him, by the way. It was his birthday, I believe, 2 days ago. I proceeded to attempt to kill him like 5 times since because of stressing him out and doing things wrong, which is what I do at my best. But we appreciate everything you do for this show and for our community. But if you are not already, subscribe in there. It's going to be the best place to hang out and talk. Everyone has lived through the CONCACAF pains and experiences in that, and all of us enjoy it so much. And I know it's not like MLS for RSL days anymore, but come on, Vancouver's playing Cruz Azul on the road. Like, unless you're a Seattle, Portland, or maybe a TFC Montreal fan, like, you got to be in for this.
Who hates Vancouver? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Outside of, wow. Camilo Sanvezzo. I couldn't remember the name.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a draw in there. I knew it. Let's go to our last weird MLS First Liga MX game, and then we'll finish off. LAFC hosting Club America at BMO on Saturday night. This one's at 10:30, so we're going to have some preview for you on the live show. We've got guests that are going to be joining us, experts on these teams, people that are going to the game or excited about the game. So we're going to be chatting all about this, and you can call in and give us your thoughts. You know, the lineup will drop in the middle of the show. We'll be chatting about it. So I'm really excited about this game. It's silly, it's weird, but it matters. LAFC got off on Wednesday for this game. They did not play, which I think is their decision. And as I said, Vancouver had the decision to play. So everyone's saying, like, how is this a thing? This was Vancouver's choice. And they have said, we think we're actually better on shorter rest, which the proof there is it's true.
Of course.
Yeah, based off the season, they literally called up their landlord and they said, raise the rent, because I believe in my grind. Kalen Cahill says, as a Timbers fan, we don't even hate Vancouver, which is a bit of a dig at Vancouver, but also not. So good. I'm glad everyone's on board. So this game for LAFC, it could lead to millions of dollars for the club. It also could lead to a ton of exposure, a chance to play some of the biggest teams in the world, a chance to be one of 3 MLS teams in the Club World Cup, played here, broadcast internationally and nationally, a whole opportunity. And I think it's one that is winnable. Club America or Giants, they lost in the final. They were trying to make it 3 straight against Toluca, which if you haven't watched the highlights, go watch the home game for Toluca where they win it and everyone just loses their minds. It's why we love soccer. That is the La Bombonera. To me, that's the real one. Boca's the fake one. Wow. I didn't say that. All the Miami Boca people, don't come find me. I don't actually live here.
Jesus.
And I don't actually know you. Club America, though, we know, like, the strength up top, Zendejas, Henry Martin, the strength in midfield, Jonah Dos Santos. They can control the games, but if they don't, they're uber dangerous against the game. And I think that's where I'm fascinated to see LAFC have moved. It felt like more possession over the last few weeks. It's a final, though. Does Steve Toronto throw it out of the window?
I'm assuming so. One, because that's what they've done in most of their big games. And two, Club America, they're going to probably dictate how this game is played. And that's probably going to lead to them having the ball and LAFC trying to defend and kill you in transition with Danny Bouanga, David Martinez, Nathan Ordaz, or Cengiz Uzun, or whoever, whichever of the bunch outside of Bouanga, who's obviously going to start. Whichever of the two of the others do. So I don't know if it's even going to be his choice because Club America are an absolute wagon. They had won 3 titles in a row. They get to the final that they lost, like you said, to Toluca, a really, really good Toluca team, of course. So I think it's going to be LAFC playing against the ball most of the game.
It's probably going to be a 4-4-2 from America. We have seen LAFC swap in and out of 3 in the back. They have scored.
This feels like a 3 at the back kind of game.
I fully agree with you.
That actually plays like a 5.
They've scored 12 goals in the last 5 games. So the attack has come on. In 3 of those, they have conceded 2 and tied 2-2. So like as they've opened up, they've left gaps on the other side of the field, and that's where I agree with you. Of like, I don't think they do that. Also, clearly against Montreal, they missed Hollingshead. He'll be back as a starter. I think that was rest for this game for him and rotation. And like, there feels like there's a pretty big drop off at that left back position from a defensive point of view and an attacking point of view. Without him, then you obviously have options in central midfield. A lot of different pieces have played. Frankie Amaya has been a part of things recently. He's looked okay. You expect Delgado to start, and you, I think, expect Tillman to start in this group as well. And then the question is, what do you do up top? Bouanga will be a part of that. Who goes with him? Is it Olivier Giroud?
Probably not.
Is it David Martinez?
Maybe.
So, yeah, those are the question marks that still exist for this LAFC team. I think it's a game that sets up fairly well for them. Like, I think Bouanga's looked really good the last few weeks. I think they've been dangerous. Giroud got a goal off the bench last game, so maybe there's a little confidence there where if it's close late, you bring him on. Now you're a danger on set pieces. Now you've got an opportunity. This feels like one you don't want to like let go. Like you kind of got lucked into this scenario, and all of a sudden you're hosting. And hosting is rough term, like it's Club America in LA.
You are at your home stadium, but out when you get outside of the locker room.
But it could have only been worse. Anywhere else you play,
yes. Oh my God, yes.
You have a worse opportunity. So like this is a big chance, and it's a big chance for the club to, I think, do some of the things they've said they wanted to do that feels like they haven't accomplished over the last few years of like winning internationally, finishing championships. They've made it to a lot of finals. They haven't been able to get over the line. This is like a pseudo opportunity here to sort of snap one back and change some of that narrative. So I think this game's going to be really fun, like high stakes, single elimination. Club America has nothing left to play for. Their season's over. So like they're putting everything into this and then they're going on vacation. So this is all they have.
We're not going on vacation.
Or they're not going on vacation, which they would love because I think it ends up being, have we talked about this? Yeah. What's the group that they'd be in?
Chelsea, Tunis, and Flamengo.
Yeah, that's... You don't want to miss an opportunity to get smoked by Chelsea and Flamengo.
The UEFA Conference League champions?
Yeah. That would be really, really fun to watch, though. And I think for Club America, they're a club that would have confidence. Like, yeah, we can get results in these things. They're the biggest club in the region. Whatever format you want to take for that, whether it's history, trophies, amount of money spent, the amount of fans, whatever you want, they are. And so this is something that they think they should be in. Like they think this is their right. And I think they're going to play that way. Zendejas is awesome for Club America because, like I talked about with the national team, these are the spots he should be in. He's not the central force of the attack. He finds the gaps in the game, but he is uber efficient for them. That's going to be a huge thing for this LAFC team to watch. It is something we're going to be watching on a live show. So once again, come and join us on that one. Saturday, 7:15 Eastern Time. It'll be live on our YouTube page. We will post the link via our socials for you to sign up to get tickets to call in via showus.com. or Show Us TV. So you'll see that link. That's what that means. You just throw your email in, and then they send you back a link when the show goes live, and you tap in, and then the producer will push you through, and you can come and join and talk about all these games, react to it, make fun of stuff, enjoy stuff, hate stuff, whatever it is you want to do. It's all open for you, as the great Steve Summers would say. We're going to get ethnic on a Saturday night, and that's my WFAN coming out in this one, and hopefully a lot more going forward. So thank you to all of you for listening. Thank you to all of you who were in the chat. Thank you to you, Tom. We'll be back tomorrow with a special episode previewing the U.S. Women's National Team with Jordan Angeli. But until then, we'll talk to you again very, very soon.